most Americans expect violence in the wake of the election, but do remain confident that their vote will be counted accurately and will be willing to accept the election results.
Here with the details, Scripps News political director Andrew Rafferty. Andrew, thanks for being here. This new poll really finds bipartisan concern over election result violence. What else did we learn from it?
Yeah, well, good morning, guys. And you're right. There is a ton of anxiety from the electorate overall, not necessarily with how their votes are going to be counted, but what some of the fallout of the election results after November 5th could be. But let's start with maybe some of the more positive news from our findings today, and that has to do with a willingness to accept results. Of course, after the 2020 election, we saw a reluctance from former President Donald Trump in accepting the election results. But you see here in our new poll that overall, more than 3/4 of Americans say they're going to accept the results, even if their preferred candidate wins. And there's a little bit of a partisan split between more Democrats being willing than Republicans, but it's not huge. And I think anyone who's watching the fallout of 2020 with the images of January 6th still fresh in our minds would be found that to be a pretty positive result, 3/4. But here's a little bit more of the pessimism that Americans have about the potential ramifications of the election, and that is over violence and unrest dealing with the election results. And in fact, 51% of respondents in our polls said that they would be okay using the military to prevent violence around election night. Now, we've heard a lot about the military over the past couple weeks on the campaign trail, most specifically when Donald Trump is talking about the, quote, enemy from within. That's not what this question is about. This question is about how local leaders, state officials can best prevent any sort of unrest in those days after the election. It does seem that a significant amount of the overall population, both Republicans and Democrats, are okay with this idea of using the military. Of course, here in Washington, D.C., we're used to seeing at least the National Guard, especially when it comes to big events like Inauguration Day. But perhaps we might see it a little bit more as leaders here prepare for what could honestly be what the next couple of days after the election look like. And so more on the pessimistic side, Americans, how are they feeling going on November 5th? We asked kind of what word would you say best describes your feelings towards Election Day? And you see the #1 answer there was anxious, but if you're an optimist, you see hopeful is not too far behind it. So there's really a range of emotions, ready, afraid, optimistic. I'm sure you guys being in Georgia are very much ready, considering how many TV ads in a battleground state you're being subjected to and have been for over a number of months now. But overall, I think Americans are ready to get it over with. They're prepared for the worst, but optimistic for the best in terms